Kyle, let's first of all do kind of just broad strokes of where the Ravens roster currently stands. And I think the glaring need, just because of everything that was lost in free agency, that must be addressed in the draft. And I'm not saying it's first round on Thursday night, 30th overall, but it has to be offensive line.
Yeah, it makes total sense after the Ravens traded Morgan Moses to the New York Jets. They reworked Ronnie Stanley's contract to where he's actually going to see free agency a year earlier, so at the end of this season. So both tackle positions are going to be a need, if not directly this year, by next season. And they have two new starting offensive linemen for guards they're going to need as well. So, essentially 4 out of 5 spots are going to be needed to be addressed by the end of next year, and 3 of those 5 need to be addressed this season, and it's certainly going to occur during this draft.
Because of how deep this draft class is at offensive line, that people shouldn't be surprised if come Thursday night at 30th overall, this truly is the Ravens' way of best player available. And we could see a corner, we could see a wide receiver, we could also see edge. Of those three, do you kind of see it falling their way that they could address that immediately with their first round pick and make a splash on maybe not necessarily position that people are dying to fill right now?
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens have proved, certainly over the past few seasons, that they are best player available, kind of regardless of position. And they talk about premium positions not being so much of a factor in their judgment. Of course, they're not going to go out and draft a quarterback when you have Lamar Jackson, but you do figure that they're going to grab the best player available, regardless of the position. I think they could be so bold as to take, more of an interior offensive lineman if they truly believe that is a person that is going to be most beneficial for their roster. They could go with that.
What are the areas that you say for sure they have addressed when we wrap up this draft?
Offensive line, wide receiver, cornerback, and I'm also expecting a running back. Eric DeCosta mentioned also in the pre-draft press conference that he is going to come away with a running back at some point in this draft, and he does seem to like the back half on those day 2 and day 3 picks, the opportunity to grab a running back in those later rounds. That sounded like something that he's almost eager to go out and acquire and add to this running back room that already features some stars and stars in the making between Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, and Justice Hill.
Now, not talking about these soon to be Ravens rookies, just the overall roster now and what they've done this offseason. What do you think they've done so far this free agency, especially knowing they are extremely limited at the cap space?
I was really impressed with the moves that they made by getting Justin Madubuike to sign a long-term
Sure.
contract. That was a critical move that they must make to kind of afford, the domino effect of everybody else on this instead of having a franchise tag looming over with $22 million. Those moves, they signed Deontay Hardy, which was a big underrated signing, I believe, because of the new kickoff rules that are going on. That is going to become a great factor, and he was at one point an all-pro return player, special teams return player just in his rookie season. So that could be a factor. They got some depth signings. They've made moves. And yes, it was challenging to watch some of the talent leave. But I think this roster is more intact than, some would like you to believe, because last season's draft, they acquired a lot of talent that was going to be waiting in the wings. And now that's come to pass with guys like Trenton Simpson, Andrew Voorhees, other players along those lines that are going to be able to step in and fill in for the roles that they saw other players depart last season. And that's put them in a good position to build through this draft and work all the way to September. As Eric DeCosta said, they're not building for May, they're building for the start of the season.
Let's talk expectations. We both know from covering it how incredibly hard it is to win in the National Football League. Parity is there for a reason, except Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. For some reason, I've found that recipe with Andy Reid. There's a lot on the line for the Ravens. There has been for some time once they locked down and paid Lamar Jackson long term, knowing that generational talent, two-time MVP that has yet to reach the Super Bowl. Where do you kind of stand on the expectations and the window getting smaller and smaller just because of cap space type things and age that goes along the line of trying to win in the National Football League?
The navigation of the cap space is always possible with young talent on rookie deals, and that's what the Ravens are attempting to build through. And so, with that, the Ravens already have playmakers, they have stars in between that can help fill those roles and make that window a little bit wider. But I agree that they need to be able to find the winning formulas to get to a Super Bowl and achieve that ultimate goal that they've talked about since drafting Lamar Jackson. And the expectations surrounding them, I think they're still in contention for their own division. It's going to be tough, of course, as yet another quarterback has arrived in the division for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Burrow's going to be healthy. The Browns are always looming with Deshaun Watson, so the opportunity is there. But the Ravens, when they have Lamar Jackson healthy for 18 games, he only has to play 17 because they've locked up the number one seed both times. So the opportunity is there for the Ravens to win. Expectations, while they may not be sky high as they were last season just because of the roster construction, there's still a contending team for the Super Bowl.
And hopefully they get better with these 9 guys that come in the draft. You hope you hit on at least half as far as keeping them on these rookie deals and being productive players. And you really hope you get a starter out of it this season, I think would probably be the goal for the Ravens. All right, Kyle Phoenix, thank you so much for joining us. Let everybody know where they can see your work leading up to the draft and post-draft, please.
You can check out my work and the work of my wonderful staffs at baltimorebeatdown.com. I also publish an article on baltimoreravens.com every Monday under their late for work section. Thank you so much for having me, Morgan.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Take care.